So let me deal with the first question. Who is Ylem Energy? I'm sure perhaps a lot of you are asking the same question. We're not a startup. We've been around for a long time, more than 30 years experience as a power generator. And if we go back to when we first got into this space, Ylem was very focused on landfill gas as a fuel source to generate energy, green renewable energy, receiving renewable certificates. And you know, when that was first pioneered, it was just dealt with as an environmental threat. And we were one of the first businesses in the country, not alone, but one of the very first businesses to embrace the opportunity to use that dirty fuel and convert it into energy. So our experience around landfill and landfill gas to energy included managing that gas threat on the landfill, and we developed flaring systems as well to control the gas and to complement what we were doing in terms of generation. Then we moved on to basically utilize biogas from other sources, so from anaerobic digestion. So really following on the theme of dealing with a difficult fuel, a dirty fuel, but turning that into a resource and generating energy from it. And we were able to then take all of that and expand it into an overseas business. So we actually moved, and I'll talk a bit more about that in a moment. So we're very proud that we've had this long-term experience and history. And it's worth mentioning because actually a lot of the principles that applied to our business over the years very firmly applies to what we're doing going forward. So we like to own and operate. You know, we see that we like to work with businesses as partners and to give a service to them to share the benefits. So we're not in the business of building and selling. We prefer to own and operate, and that's how we built our landfill gas to energy business. And that sort of end-to-end approach with a long-term relationship is certainly at the core of what we like to do and what we will continue to do with the new areas of business that we'll talk about. Carbon credits, as a consequence of Ylem's activity on landfill, certainly going overseas, we were able to control landfill gas in a number of countries where landfills are prevalent as a way of dealing with waste, capture that, destroy it, and then create carbon credits. And the reason it's worth mentioning this today is that the concept of carbon offsetting really it supports and underpins what we're trying to do behind the meter offering, which we'll obviously come on to talk about in more detail. So Ylem are very experienced in the whole business of not only creating carbon credits by destroying methane from our landfill gas projects, but because of that involvement in the carbon sector, we have strong relationships with businesses that are working around the world to reduce carbon and, well, forestry projects, cooking stove projects in Africa, etc. And we have very good access, very good understanding of all the processes around those, and we can bring those to the party when we're looking at a behind the meter solution that may be natural gas focused, but position can be offset, and it's something that sits very firmly at the core of what we want to do. In our experience overseas, we were obviously expanded into, as the slide says, Brazil, Mexico, South Africa. We also carried out carbon credit projects in China and the Middle East, for example. So we've got a broad experience of developing projects not only in the UK but overseas, which stood us in good stead for what we're doing going forward. So in In our UK operations, we basically, following the concept of owning and operating, we have a strong presence all across the UK, in all regions, from Scotland all the way down. We've always followed this sort of fully autonomous approach to O&M. So we have our in-house capability, which can deal with all aspects of operational maintenance in-house. We don't rely on third parties for that. We do it all in-house. And we think that that really goes a long way to support the whole concept of owning and operating an asset and providing a service. Clearly, we will prioritize those assets. They're our assets. We're going to look after them very well, and we think that should give peace of mind to our partners in projects, that they know that we're going to go out of our way to maintain and look after those assets in the best way possible, and make sure that we are available 24/7 to respond to any problems and deal with the maintenance of those assets as required. A very important part of what we do, and as I say, underpins our behind the meter offering. So some of our clients, so obviously in that long history, we've historically worked across a broad range of sectors to provide on-site generation. You can see some of the clients there, names that you'll recognise. So as I mentioned, we've focused in the past on generation from biogas, dirty, difficult fuels, and really that's been our focus. But increasingly going forward, we've been able to then get involved with food sector. For example, here we've got Diageo, BV Dairy, Nestle, etc., where they've been have on-site AD facilities. We've been able to work with those and to take that fuel and generate on-site generation behind the meter, in effect, and where necessary, also utilize heat from those. So, okay, historically the driver was different. We were looking at the fuel source and the dirty fuel, but actually that's led us to actually embed generation in facilities and to deal with all the complexity around integration of that type of technology into a facility to provide a real good behind the meter solution. So that underpins again what we're trying to do with our on-site generation going forward. So clearly, just to sort of put into context where we've come from, where we're going, clearly our landfill gas business built up over many years, and now quite a sort of very mature sector. Landfills not the way that waste is typically disposed of nowadays, so there aren't many new opportunities for landfill gas generation. So we continue to operate our existing portfolio of landfill gas to energy, which underpins our business, gives us a very good profitable base to work from, and that's great. But going forward, we need to do new things. So clearly, the UK electricity system is decentralising, as the slide says, and that presents an opportunity for us. As we see more renewables being utilised in the form of intermittent renewables in the form of wind and solar, and clearly, there are challenges for the grid operators, and that presents opportunities for businesses such as Ylem to respond to that and to provide both front of the meter and behind the meter solutions. So front of the meter typically for us at the moment would be natural gas peaking facilities, and we're building out a number of projects to do that. We've already built some, and we're continuing to roll out a portfolio of new projects front of the meter utilising natural gas. Behind the meter, clearly the opportunities are there, which John will talk about, and Simon certainly in more detail. But we can draw on all the core skills and expertise of the Ylem team that have supported our landfill gas to energy business, our biogas to energy business, and they really underpin that ability to own and operate an asset is essential to a good, robust solution going forward. So that those core skills and expertise fit nicely with that. Help to make sure those projects work well. We can bring our carbon expertise, as I mentioned, into that equation where it's necessary to do so, and help to create a clean offset position for those projects. And we see that what we're doing behind the meter, although that's providing resilience for business, it's enabling them to avoid some of the grid charges. There's clear, obvious opportunities to make savings straight away from that type of project. But we also see that we can follow on from our core principle of partnership and the long-term relationship. We can look at all the emerging opportunities that are arising out of the decentralized energy initiatives that are going forward, and we can respond to that, and we want to do that going forward. So if that means evolving what we're doing on site for businesses in terms of utilizing new technologies, then we're very well placed to do that. And within our business, we are spending a lot of our time and effort understanding what's happening in the energy market, and making sure that our business is fit for purpose going forward. So we are the expert in that area, and we can bring that expertise to these behind the meter projects and go on that journey of decentralization and cost saving, carbon reduction, etc., etc. So we see that our history complements where we're taking the business forward. And I think, John, if I can hand over to you now, I think back to you for slide 7.
So yeah, thank you, Ian. I think the history of where we come, as Ian just said, is the exciting part about Ylem, because it gives the opportunity for us to move forward and reinvigorate what we're trying to do, and using the skills and capabilities that we've learned. So I joined Ylem right before COVID, if we say pre and post COVID, but it's been a journey myself, coming from the gas industry but into the power. And as we know, we're trying to balance the grid. And you know, we had Mr. Johnson saying today that all the houses are going to get their power from wind, and everything's renewables as the way forward, which, you know, and hopefully it will be at some point, but it's a journey. And I think that's where Ylem's really put itself now to help with that. So balancing the grid, it's great, as we said, to have the renewables, but they are intermittent currently, and there needs to be some balancing. And what we're working with, and Simon will touch on, is also the working with customers to build that capability on the journey to net zero. Where we're focusing on is, as Ian said, on different alternative solutions, whether it's taking you off grid for behind the meter, or whether it's doing peakers for ourselves, or helping people to develop those, and also batteries. So what we think, or I feel, again, one of the great opportunities with Ylem is that we have the capability and experience and skills in those areas, because we've done them all. So this isn't a theory, or we have to learn as we're going along. We've already invested time and energy to really build up our capabilities to take on the new way of working within the grid. So if we go on to the next one, I'll talk a bit about batteries. So we forward thinking had arranged a direct relationship with a Chinese battery company called Dowell for large and small scale. But again, being Ylem, we were proactive to actually bring a battery over. So we've already installed and operate and maintain and know how that battery works. We can help in demand side response. We can help in using that battery for the investors to get the most out of that. Importantly, what we did, and again, as it says here, is we co-located the first one with one of our landfill generation sites, which again, going through that whole process, as you can imagine, to get the approvals was not straightforward, but got there in the end, and again, has given the capabilities and skills for us to realize how batteries interact with other sources, so whether it be a generator or a PV or however you wish to do that. Again, there's a difference between Ylem and maybe some of our competitors who are looking at investing or building these. It's about owning, operating, and maintaining them, installing them, designing them. Having the end-to-end process has really given us a unique positioning to be able to work with customers to really meet their needs. So it may be that you start with one particular technology and then add on another one, because we want that long-term relationship, and because we've been working on our own skills and capabilities, we're able to build and grow with each of the customers as and when they see fit to move on and build their skills. And as we said, everything is a journey. And if we go to the next slide, we're talking about the journey to net zero. And that's really, Ylem is trying their best to maintain that. As Ian mentioned, we have carbon credits from some of our activity outside the UK. We can offset, and we're working with people to go to that journey. But that journey starts in different places. And one of those, again, where we've had built our key skills and expertise, and again, learning to work in new ways and adapt, which I think, again, Ylem's strengths is we commissioned our own peaking plants in the midst of COVID and lockdown, maintaining and all the regulatory obligations to do that and still keep the business moving forward. And Ylem's really trying to strive to move forward with partners and forward to get the business to where it needs to be in the future. And I think one of the great skills is that we have adapted ourselves. And again, we've done the history and where we're going forward, is that we talk about the peaking, particularly on this slide. We have over 40 megawatts still in development. We have another peaking site coming live in November. And so we're constantly moving. So not just on behind the meter or battery or other technologies, we're trying to make sure that we're integrating and moving on all fronts, because it is that balance and that understanding that the grid is changing, and it will constantly be changing now. And it's making sure that we as a company can adapt and move forward with that. We should be on helping businesses. That slide. So on that, what our main goal is to help the businesses and on their journey. So behind the meter is the technologies that we're looking at, gas generation. And although gas generation isn't a renewable, it definitely is there to help the customer move forward on that journey. And what it does is it provides the savings and the possibilities to look to move on to renewables and other green solutions that they may find necessary. And this, what we've tried to develop, and really where we're focusing on for the behind the meter option, is the build, own, operate model, where we take the risk, we do the installation again, as I said, and the maintaining, and the customer really as a fully funded end-to-end process. Ylem is in a unique position to really work with customers to build that capability for themselves to be able to go on that journey. So we can optimize the site, we design, we will then work with the on-site companies to place and install and to build the capability for them to have the on-site generation. I'm not going to talk too much about all the savings and what goes with that, because Simon will go into that. But the real key is all the things that Ylem are now doing to progress itself as a business and grow with the changing environment within the grid and electricity market is there to help customers. And again, you'll hear from Benji at the end with Stark. For us, it's about partnerships. It's about working with that customer. It's not about simply putting in an engine and saying that's the end of it. It's about putting in the engine, working with them, finding, do we want to change that, develop that? Do you want to put on PV? Things like that, where we can help the customer to really go on that journey. and the key is having the skills and capability. And Ylem has really focused, certainly over the last 6 to 9 months, on having that skills, having those capabilities, building from what they've known, which was the landfill, but the managing and understanding of engines to really be able to offer a widespread solution to a customer and build the full capabilities. So we do that through a PPA, just to finish off. So you're taking off the grid, you save on the cost, the third-party costs that go with that, but the PPA therefore gives you that security and surety of pricing to understand where those savings are and how you can then apply them to other projects that you want to do to move your own individual business forward. So that brings us to the end of who we are and where we're going. It's a very exciting future, I think. Ylem's well positioned to be working with all different types of industries. We've had conversations, as Ian showed at the beginning, but since then, certainly in a varied industry support, we've talked to many people and have a lot progressing on behind the meter. People are very keen to work and move forward on that, and we're keen to assist and bring our capabilities and skills to those companies.